Alright, it is June 1st and the temperatures have dropped into the 70s as we get some thunderstorms in the area. Mostly light thunderstorms, but I mean, this is remnant moisture from a tropical storm or something way down in Mexico, plus a cutoff low coming off of California mixing together. Making for a very nice June 1st. Not anywhere near 100 degrees. It's in the 70s with a nice cool breeze. We'll see how much rain we get. We're saying we can get about a ½ inch of rain, but it'll probably be spotty. Some places get a lot and some places get next to nothing, like it usually is this time of year. Anyway, getting a few drops now, which is nice. So that's it. All right. Once again, June 1st, about 6 o'clock. We're now starting to get a more steady rain. Hopefully this will last for a while. Very rare tropical moisture and the cutoff low off California moving in. Definitely not typical. It should be 100 degrees and sunny. Instead, it's like 70, maybe even in the high 60s and rainy, and we'll take that. This won't count as monsoon rainfall though. That doesn't start till June 15th. This will just count as summer rainfall for the month of June. We'll see how much we get. They're saying about a ½ inch total. We shall see. Bye-bye. All right, it is June 30th, and it looks like the monsoons are trying to make their push in. I think Phoenix had a record high of 116 today. Tucson was probably well over 110, but I don't know. And we have been getting some sprinkles. Still over 100 here, and the humidity is finally picking up. The dew point was only like barely 30 at the airport 2 or 3 hours ago, but the moisture has increased and the clouds are moving in. So anyway, June 30th, monsoon's trying to make a push into Vail from the east. We'll see what happens. All right, we are having a dust storm here. We usually don't have dust storms here east of Tucson. They usually happen west of Tucson towards Phoenix, but you know, outflow from these storms, rain not really reaching the ground, producing all this wind. And we are having a good old-fashioned dust storm. I see something like this about every 5 years or so out here is all. Nothing like the big ones that they get in Phoenix. Still feeling some sprinkles. I'm gonna grab the phone with 2 hands so it doesn't blow out of my hand. Anyway, there you go. All right, that is looking south-southwest. That is due south. That is southeast. Coming to due east. And I believe that there are even some storms to our northeast, but they must be farther away because I don't see the cumulus. Well, July 13th, the monsoon's been kind of shut down the last 8 days. Really ever since the 3rd. So the last 10 days. Haven't had much. It is trying to make a comeback, and this week promises to be a good comeback. And starting today, they might make it as far west as Tucson. I live at the far southeast side of Tucson, and these are still far away, but not that far. We will see if they can make an appearance tonight. Hard to tell. Anyway, that's it for now. Alright, not too long after my previous video, and you can already see dust getting kicked up. And there is even a cloud overhead now, and the winds are picking up. So there are thunderstorms out there. In fact, there's a gust of wind right now. In fact, the gust and some light dust just came in, and I feel some cool air from it actually. Hey Nova, like the dust? Let's go over here and see if there's anything to our northeast. Because if we get the outflow from storms way up there to our northeast, meeting with the outflow from these storms to the south, this will build up overhead and give us some rain. Hopefully that happens. The door is kind of sticky. I have never seen a dust storm here before, but look what's coming.
Oh, no.
Usually they get these in Phoenix. This is weird.
Are the windows closed?
Yeah, all of our windows are closed.
Sweet.
I'm gonna lube that door so it opens. Yeah, just trying to...
Oh, shutter's out.
It's getting close. All right, let me shut this off. I don't want you in the video. All right, looks like the dust storm has arrived. It's kind of crazy. Very crazy. Hey everybody, this is John in Vail, Arizona. I just thought I would do a little video on the 2025 monsoon as of September 5th, 2025. And in general, for much of the region, it has not been a good monsoon at all. Hence, I am watering my plants. In fact, the 37 years that I've lived here, so far, unless we get any substantial rain from September 6th to September 30th, this will probably be the driest monsoon I have seen. We are just slightly behind 2020. We might be a little ahead of 2020. I'll have to look at the numbers, so don't quote me on that. If you count June, before June 15th, we had a storm on June 1st this year, so I'm actually ahead of 2020. So we're gonna at least say maybe the second or third worst monsoon that I have seen since I moved here in 1988. As always, there are isolated areas that aren't terrible, but still it's definitely not up to par for the Tucson area. So, and one other thing I want to talk about is the forecasting that has been going on this monsoon. It has been absolutely wrong. Every time I see a forecast that has been put out for storm chances, and especially with this remnant hurricane or tropical system, the models have completely missed the boat on that. I mean, we were supposed to be having flooding rains in the area today, and there is essentially nothing. And when I woke up this morning, the Weather Service posted the track of that remnant tropical system, and it's completely going 90 degrees the opposite direction. I've never seen the models perform so bad. I mean, it's just been terrible. And that's been frustrating a lot of people who love the monsoons, and that keeps living in the desert sane, like myself. But it is normal to have a bad monsoon about every 5 years. You'll see that in my Vail Voice article. You know, we had them in, if I can remember them, 89, 94, and then 01, 04, 09, 2014, 2020, and now looking like 2025, unless a miracle happens in the last 3 or so weeks of this month. And there's still a good chance of rain tomorrow, but it was pretty similar to today, and the only thing we had was a nice little shower over the Rincon and Tanque Verde Mountains right there. Nothing real substantial. But so year to date, not monsoon to date, but year to date, at September 5th, I have only had 4 inches of rain so far this entire year, from January 1st through September 5th. That is like what Yuma and Vegas gets. So that is very behind. I should be approaching the 10-inch mark, or around the 10-inch rain mark right now, instead of just 4. For the monsoon, June, I didn't get any rain for the monsoon part of June. I had 7/10. June was above average because of the rain we had on June 1st, but you can't count that for the monsoon. In July, I had about 1.5 inches of rain. Normal is about 3.25. And August was my driest August ever. I had like 23/100ths of an inch of rain, and normal's like 2 1/3 inches. So August was absolutely terrible. The airport had the third driest August in history, and they have records for over 100 years. The first and second driest August at the airport was in the 1920s. So 100 years later, they now have the third driest August. And that's how bad it's been. So have any areas have had a decent monsoon? There are some areas, like if you go south of Sierra Vista on, I think, Highway 92, right near the Mexican border, they're about 8 or 9 inches, and that's normal for them so far for the monsoon. Yuma had one storm in August that dumped over 1 inch of rain. So Yuma even had a better August than us, which pretty much gives them their entire monsoonal average of rain, which is about 1 inch in one storm. And even parts of the Phoenix metro area have been doing good, at least for August. The Phoenix airport so far is at their third driest monsoon, but Phoenix has had a better monsoon than most of Tucson, especially for the month of August, which is very unusual. So we have that. If you drive around the area, driving from Central Vale and Delago, where I live, down Marianne, Cleveland to Rita Ranch, it's dry. I mean, I've never seen it so dead. It looks as dead as it does in late June before the monsoon. It is absolutely bad. In fact, if you take all the areas in southern Arizona, you know, like I said, some areas are not doing terrible. Some areas are doing really bad. We are probably doing the worst. I mean, if you have to pinpoint a bad area, it would be the western part of Vail around Delago to Rita Ranch. I mean, those places have been missed every single time. So that's pretty much how bad it's been. There are some green patches in places, like on the way to Sassabee, Arizona, or on the way to Sells. There's two small areas that got like a good isolated storm, and they greened up for a little bit, and it wasn't looking too bad there. So in August, the storms have been mainly west, like Phoenix and west of Tucson. So it's not like they're doing great, but they're not doing terrible. And much of the Phoenix area will come out average for probably August because of that. So that is pretty much the recap for the 2025 monsoon. There are still 3.5 weeks left. We shall see what happens. You know, 2 days ago, they were screaming 1 to 4 inches of rain and flooding rains in the area, and absolutely nothing has happened. So like I said, it's been very bad, and hopefully we can get some rain soon and save a little bit of this monsoon. My average rainfall for the entire year is somewhere between 13 and 14 inches of rain. I've only had 4. I'd have to get literally almost 9 inches of rain between now and December 31st for it to be average, and that would be hard to do unless we have a 100-year flood, which we are only 50 years into the next 100-year flood. And that's just a joke. We don't want another one of those like we had in 1983. Anyway, signing off for now. Well, it is Saturday, September 6th, I believe, 2025. And the last gasp of what the monsoon is. There's a shower down there, probably down in Corona. And some showers over here. And these storms really aren't moving. They have to develop pretty much on top of you. After today, there is a good chance the monsoon will be over as the kind of a fall westerly pattern sets in, drier air moves in, highs in the 90s, lows in the 60s, typical for September. So today is probably the end to a very disappointing monsoon for much of the area, as I discussed in my video yesterday. We'll see. I mean, I don't think these things are going to develop into anything big tonight, but you never know. And looks like this could be it, unless something happens later on in September, but so far the long-range models do not show any of that. Middle of September 2025, Tanque Verde Falls. Never been here before. Moved here in 1988 and never been here. monsoon action going on. Luckily it's to our south, so we are not caught in the main crux of that storm. But it is very pretty. There's Dylan waving. So there are some falls down there. And there's the main part of Lower Tanque Verde Falls. Very cool. Even though there are storms around, this is still one of the worst monsoon seasons that I've lived through, especially from my house. And there are storms here, and I do hope that something develops overhead, because we are hurting. We have had a terrible monsoon. This storm that I'm looking at over to my east and northeast, which looks pretty cool, just missed my house by a couple miles, but if you live on the other side of Camino Loma Alta, you probably got some of that. I have no idea which way these storms are moving. This whole season it's been hard to tell if and how and which direction these storms are moving. So we still have outflow winds from that, which are hopefully feeding these storms to my west and southwest. That's the only way I'm going to get any rain at my house, because if there's a clear spot, it's always over my house. It just seems to be that way. Everybody has a monsoon season that's like that. You know, about every 10 years it seems like it rains everywhere else but where you are. This is definitely one of those monsoon seasons, but you know, the Tucson, Phoenix, and Flagstaff airports are still in the top 10 worst monsoon seasons for the year. And in general, even though we've been having some thunderstorms in parts of towns the past few days, we are still very much below average. So I do hope that something happens with this. Like I said, I don't know if these storms are moving, if they're stationary, developing overhead, but I am just hoping that this thing expands overhead. And with the wind at my back running into that storm up there, that usually can produce some storms over you, but we'll see. Well, supposedly this is moving from south to north, and that could be developing right overhead. So there's some rain shafts starting over there. The main one is literally to my due south. So if they are moving south to north, it should move in. These storms are fast moving, just like they were on Thursday. The interesting thing is that yesterday there was a big chance of rain and essentially nothing happened until the night. Today, there's almost no chance of rain, 20% chance. They even lowered it. And there are thunderstorms all over the place. So that just goes to show you how the forecast modeling for this entire monsoon, like I've said many times, has been absolutely terrible this year. Anyway, I hope we get some more rain out of this. It's been great the past couple of days or so. Bye. Yep, and the storm did hit. These are moving fast. We are just west of center of this storm. Probably heavier rains will probably fall literally just a mile to my east. But nonetheless, we did get hit with this. My guess is it'll dump a quick quarter to a half inch. And where the core of this is, maybe more than a half inch before it moves out, because these storms are fast moving. And it's kind of hard to see that house on the hill there now toward the west. So anyway, very nice. So 3 days in a row with good rain.